We are Legion.
We are all.
We are one.
We are
Watching.
If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist.
For Illuminati.
the Holocron.
It's funny, we're here again for this season of Monuments, and we decided let's do a Holocron about it. So I'm going to start this one out with a quote. It says, "Getting my fake name on a digital Star Wars trading card is easily the nerdiest thing I've ever been proud of." That was by some guy named Boba Jerk in Star Wars Card Trader Reddit 3 years ago. And it still holds true today. So this is a Holocron, a Hoard Illuminati podcast. It's Adam and Greg. How you doing, Greg?
Doing good. Doing great.
So it's Monument season again with so much going on in the app.
So much stress.
This is a good subject.
So much stress. It's a lot. I mean, we stress about it all year, and then we get to the finish line, and this time out we get to stress again. But it has always been thus. It's always been a lot, right, all the way back to the earliest roots of Monuments. So I guess the biggest thing to talk about in the beginning is the first one, which was the
Darth Maul.
It was Darth Maul was the very first one.
Yeah, that Phantom Menace, getting ready to show us the double lightsabers for the first time. That was such a cool card when I first hopped into the app. Everyone liked that card. Everyone thought that was a badass looking card. And it was, a lot of people think that the Monuments happened towards the end of Series 1.
No.
But that's not the case.
No, they started much earlier in the year.
July 3rd
right.
of the first year of the app.
Because I can remember it was, on July 4th, Crystal and I were out at the pool, on the pool deck, and it's hot as fuck, and we were in and out of the pool, and this thing had happened with this mall monument, and we're like, they're probably going to do more of these. We should probably, and I think a lot of people were like, picking their Hoard at that time. Mm-hmm. And I remember literally sorting by duplicates, and the card I had the most whites of at that point was maybe 200 was Dak Ralter, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah.
That's literally how I chose my Hoard. I'm already further along on this guy than anybody else, and he's kind of a second string character. And he's got a smart ass line, and then he dies almost immediately. And it's perfect for me. He's a gimp.
Yeah, and I think I've told this story multiple times on the show. For me, it was at Count Dooku where he's about to get his head chopped off.
Yeah.
Because I was selling a lot of eBay at the time, and whenever I'd send an eBay trade, I'd make that the card I was getting, that white base card. And I just thought it was a really funny-looking card to get in a trade when I'm, like, sending them this, like, high-end insert or whatever at the time and be like, I'm going to grab this. And every single one. And all of a sudden, I had, like, 300 of them after a while between opening packs and those, and that just stuck with me, and it's been that way ever since.
Yeah, so the Hoard chooses us in the early days, and then Crystal, she liked Padme and kind of wanted to do that, but it was going to be really hard because that's such a hot card. And we, I don't know if it was after I'd picked Dak or what it was about the timeline, but she really liked that Corday from that S1 set because she's all blowed up, she's all fucked up, and that her hair is just like wow. Because it was a continuity shot from the scene, the scene where she gets blown up. Yeah. It's Attack of the Clones, yeah.
Yes.
Pretty sure, yeah. So yeah, she's masquerading as the queen, and the ship blows up, and she's the one that gets killed, and so she's all blowed up, and she was really a kind of a fucked up thing. So it was like close to the queen, and a handmaiden, and she had kind of a tragic story as well, and it was a funny card, so that's why she went for that one too.
It's funny how so many of our Hoards are just based on dumb shit humor.
Yeah, it just made you laugh for a second. It's like, okay, I could stand to look at this dummy for a year. You know?
I mean, we did the same thing with later ones. I mean, you did Fat Clone Idiot.
Yeah.
I did Boss Nass, where it looks like he's like, ooh, some candy or something.
It was literally the time somebody, I think on Reddit or in the app said Fat Clone Idiot. And as soon as I read those 3 words together, I was like, I'm fucking hoarding that thing. I'm going to say Fat Clone Idiot for the rest of the year. And I did, and I had so much fun hoarding that stupid imbecile.
The rest of the year, you've been saying it ever since.
Yeah. And then, of course, we didn't get any monuments for S3, but that's for later days. We're still in S1. So they did
We're back in July.
Yeah.
We're back in July 2015 in the infancy of the app.
Right.
I mean, I only hit the app in May. I know you guys were day one, users, but I only was on the app for about less than 2 months at that point. I signed on May 7th, and already July 3rd they're talking about monuments.
Well, that's when we started to hit our stride, though, because it took us a long time, and we hadn't done a digital card app, and we really didn't know what the fuck was going on, and it drove us into a deeper involvement in the app, and around that time was when those the Series 1 Classic Arts were coming around in that time as well.
Yeah, those are some great cards. Even the counts on those are sky high, but...
Well, yeah, my phone just decided I was asking it a question, and it's working right now. It's with the team, but so we were really kind of into the classic arts for those daily drops because Father's Day is in June, and so that's we were really finding our footing, and then this hoarding thing came along, and that really drove us. And it was interesting that in those early days that they were paying enough attention, I guess, to actually go, hey, people are picking characters and hoarding shitloads of just white cards for some reason. It doesn't make any sense. It's not anything that anybody I don't think had done in any of the other apps either.
No, there's no real reason to do that in a sports app because those are your lowest scoring contest cards. Right,
they're just worthless, and somehow the community literally created this thing that's an institution now, which is constantly feels like it's under attack. It's just been an institution. It's always been a free thing that the community could do together, just for fun. It's kind of monotonous fun, but every once in a while you get that little ding ding. When you hit that benchmark, that round number, and that's enough of a jolt for us to keep doing this stupid thing year after year.
It really became a key identifier of the community as a whole. It was like you could be free to play, you could spend a couple $100 a month, but trading white base cards put you on this equal footing where it's kind of like, hey, we're all in this together. If you characterize yourself as a hoarder, it doesn't matter whether you spend or not. You're still trading 9 for 9 whites, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, 100%, and that continues to this day. We have people that are just absolute mega whales that are also hardcore hoarders, and that's their jam, and it's become like a identity piece for people in the community as well. You see a name and you go, oh, that's the guy that does this, or this is the guy that does that. And in our group, it's 100% that way. I know that Kevin, he's Tarkin. I know that Jen Leo, she's Poe. Crystal, she's all about Hux, and I'm all about whoever I am about right now. And you've always been that Dooku guy. It's a really strong force in this stupid hobby that we've been doing for so long. So
yeah, even when we first met in line at Celebration, I'm like, yeah, I'm AC Destroyer. Like, I've traded with you before.
I probably said the Dooku guy.
I don't remember exactly, but probably.
It's very like that. I was like, oh, that Dooku guy. So, but going back to the history and where this all started, it started with Darth Maul, and everybody got really excited about this thing, and there was a lot of people that were already hoarding this, and right off the bat, they fucked it up.
Yeah, because they made it a 24-hour chase.
Right.
And they put special packs out, and, some of the people that went all in on this, I was reading back, and some of these people were doing like 4,000 of these in 24 hours or something like that. Numbers that even with the amount of base flowing around the app today, you're like, damn, that's impressive.
Right.
But what happened was Topsed it up, and
well, they put their parentheses around the wrong place, and then they got the wrong people. So when these things came out, there were people that were like, "Hey, wait a minute, I've got thousands more than this guy. I've got." You know, all the way down the line, there were people that clearly should not have gotten those monuments. So then they had to go back and try again.
Yeah, and what was interesting here, the first attempt at this, not a meld.
No.
Everyone thinks a monument meld.
No.
And you dump your white base for this. This was just like, hey, we're gonna run a query on the database, and whoever the top 20 are, you know, they did that, but their query was off.
Yeah, because they only looked at the 24-hour period instead of looking. Instead of looking at the community, because there were people that had been hoarding Mall already that had a huge head start. And those were people that were just like, well, hot diggity dog, the sun's shining on me today, and then come to find out, oh yeah, whamp, sorry, they didn't even bother to hoard because they were already so far ahead of anybody that was getting into the game.
Yeah, and that was a bronze, and I found the original transmission to it. It's really interesting, and it was like, kind of the first part says, we're going to etch your names in bronze and stuff, and the names were never etched in bronze. It was just a white writing on the back, but it was still like the idea that they were going to like erect this monument, you know, in your name and stuff. It was a cool looking base variant, and it's always been a cool looking base variant and something to be super proud of. But when I think we first all got the word of this happening, we all expected the whole card to have like a bronze kind of layer on top of it to make it look like the mall itself was like some sort of, you know, cast monument or some sort of chiseled, you know, handcrafted monument, but they just put a border on it.
Well, at that time, Ray Park was fairly chiseled.
I'll give you that. He
still
is an impressive...
He's in better shape than me, that's for sure.
Yes, me as well. And what they did to correct their faux pas was to create more monuments of the same card.
Let's do more.
So they said, what's better than one monument that was given out to the wrong people? Having your choice of two monuments. So
that was the silver one, or platinum. It's been called a couple of different things.
The first was bronze. The next replacement monuments were rust. Hey, we're going to downgrade from bronze to rust. Or we're going to super upgrade to platinum, which looks a lot like that chrome Vader card that they did later on.
Uh-huh.
So you could pick one or the other, and once the other one was used up, if you weren't one of those first 10 to top on that card you wanted, you got the leftovers if you're one of those 20. It's kind of the way they resolved that. Now, they did that monument chase in July. They didn't fix this until midway into August.
Well, and then very short order, didn't they do Ahsoka?
Ahsoka, or that, and possibly... No, it wasn't Ahsoka. It might have been Luke. It was a Luke, like a Farm Boy Luke one, I think.
I can't. You know, that
I can't remember now. But
I mean, it was a blur because they were doing so many weird base variants, and some of them you had no idea where they came from. Early in the days of the app, they had these pink border, black, really cool black with a pink piping around that went out to people that had the top 4 score or spent the most that week, and it was out of the blue. They never announced it. They just sent them out like, hey, thanks for spending a shitload of money, brah.
Yeah, it was kind of the earliest attempts at a VIP program, if you will.
Right. Yes, which, I still have hopes that they'll unveil in our current build. If anything could soothe the pain that we are living through right now, a VIP program would probably do it. But
after those first couple, they went, we can't really do this. And that's where they came up with the melt.
Right, because they had already started the Smuggler's Den, and they were doing a lot of things with, you'd always had a way to meld, white up to blue, blue up to red, red up to green, or yellow at that time, and then up to the oranges. Those were always in something else. Gold, right? God dang, it's so far back. Jesus Christ! But you could meld a bunch of whites up to golds, and then eventually we had an opportunity to take golds up to 10 count pinks, and then they had the specific base variants, which are gorgeous. Still some of the nicest.
Only a handful of them got that treatment.
Right, and they didn't go through all of them or anything like that, and so melding had gotten to be a thing, and then they said, okay, well, we can use this functionality to do the monument thing, and then, even then, at that time, they could only do them in groups. They would do a bunch at a time, and a bunch at a time, and a bunch at a time, and a bunch at a time.
Which was kind of cool, because you were always going, is tonight going to be my night?
Right.
Is tonight going to be my night? It was this anticipation over these, like, small batch drops of monuments, which also created even more buzz within the community, to people trying to build up, you know, that was the earliest take on the prospect.
Yep.
And
because the requirements were not horrible. They were 5,500 whites, period. That's it.
Yeah.
Which at the time, when you look at the counts on those cards compared to everything else, they are the highest count cards in the thing. But at that time, we also had tens of thousands of active players, and this was a time where everything was just absolutely hair on fire, and putting together 5,500 was an accomplishment. You know, I went deep on those S1s. I did the Dacralter, obviously, and then I decided to do General Veers, and then I think I did Rick Oley as well. I made a run at Ula, but I fell short. I ran out of time before the deadline, and I wasn't able to put together. I ended with about 3,000, and that was as far as I could get, and I wasn't able to pull together, and I was depleted on whites at the time, so I really had no trade bait to even do anything more with.
So would your Rick Oley monument go, I'm a Rick Oley monument?
Yes.
It took 5,500 cards to meld me.
Yes, it took 5,500 cards. I'm worth a lot of money now, and that's the only wrong thing he's ever said.
Yeah. And for me, I did 4 as well. I did both Count Dooku's. That was in December. I actually found my old tweets about it. I was really excited to get 1 like on that. And then in January, I did the Battle Droids, because Count Dooku needs his army. And then later on my iPad, I did Wolf Yularen, which is a great looking Series 2 card. But my God, I was up till like 3 in the morning trying to meld that sucker, because it was going to expire the next day while I was at work. And I was trading, which it sounds like nothing now, because people throw around oranges for whites all day long and inserts for whites and things. I was throwing 2 yellows at 9 whites at like 2 in the morning, and that felt like you're giving up the world to that.
Back in those days, you were. You know, it's funny you mentioned that post from Boba Jerk. I mean, the quote from Boba Jerk. Yeah. Because he also posted about the funniest monument, which was the Reddit community monument for the skiff cards. Yeah. Everybody pitched in. There was one, somebody had an alt called SWCT _ Reddit. And everybody contributed on Reddit, just was sending, you know, because it was the worst fucking card. It's a goddamn Photoshop nightmare. It's an absolute...
It's also the best card.
It's such a fucking train wreck. But on that, and I think there was only a couple or 3 of them that were melded, because it's such a shit card. But it's got SWCT _ Reddit on the back. And they banned that account. Those motherfuckers.
They banned the account.
They fucking banned that account. I mean, it's just like such an outrage. And it's so, but it's still sitting there. It's in its grave. It's probably in the vault now. Yeah. But they actually banned that SWCT Reddit account, probably because of all the hinky activity. It was like 9s for 1s all day long. Take these fucking skiff cards. They suck.
Back when they kind of gave a shit for 9-for-1 base trades.
Yeah, they actually cared about stuff like that. Hopefully they stopped that. So, you know, that, I mean, it was a really exciting time in the early days. And there were other meld things that came, you know, later, like the pinks that were harrowing. And I don't know how much we've talked about those. But then, so, you know, the end of the year comes and we move into S3.
Now, let me stop you right there for a moment, because kind of getting back to this Skiffguard monument, I actually found an interesting quote from you on that thread, where someone said, what's going to be the next community monument? Someone said, how about that clone card?
That clone idiot!
Here's your quote. You said, I'm not giving up a single one of my beloved fat clone idiots to this thing.
It had 10. It actually had 10 on it. I see that quote now. And I also declared, if I have to share the clone monument with SWCT Reddit, I am declaring myself dictator for life. I have no idea what the fuck I was drinking that night. So, yeah, it's fun shit. So we go into S3, and, you know, we've just come off this high, and we're all picking our hordes again, and we go, and we hoard, and we hoard, and we hoard, like crazy. And big letdown, they did not do monuments for S3.
No, and kind of this is an interesting kind of dark period towards the end of Series 3 and into Series 3 expansion, where we've seen turnover within the top side of who's running the app.
Yeah, those early teams like Top Steve, who took so much heat, and you know, they were all gone. Yeah,
and I believe it was Top's Jer at that point.
Yes.
And I got into so many fucking arguments with that guy on Twitter. This was well before any of us even dreamed about doing a podcast.
Right. We just had to yell at him on Reddit.
You know, between pack prices, not doing a monument because it was too much work and it was never supposed to be an ongoing thing, I believe is what he told me in some tweet before. They're all deleted now. And between that, pack prices, and open editions, my goodness, I got into some verbal spats with that guy in open edition cards.
Here's a fun fact. I was actually kind of friendly with Topps Jer, and we actually were in DMs together, and like we're sharing pictures of our kids from Disney and stuff. Because he came over from Huddle, and I had vacationed in Huddle that one year, and he had kind of come off of there into this, and so I had been friendly with him in Huddle, and then when he came into Star Wars, I was still on really good terms with him. So while you were calling him an asshole on Twitter, I was actually
used those words.
We were actually sharing we were sending pics of each other's kids at Disney and stuff.
No,
yeah, Jer was okay.
You know,
he's an okay guy by me.
When I say verbal spats, it wasn't like, this guy's an idiot. They were like back and forth conversations of where he thought the app should go.
Right. Well, they were very much into,
as a fan.
They were way into monetization at that point, and they had gone from a model of being able to pull a lot of stuff with free coins to selling everything in bundles. And when they'd gone into the new waves of marathons, they had really gone very deeply into the model of sell this card for $3, sell this card for $5, sell a chance of at this card at $5 and stuff like that. And that's where we first ran into situations where cards could be completely bought out with whoever had the most money. And so that got to be a problem too. It was really like the earliest model for the farmers in terms of busting the economy. So obviously we have different thoughts about Jer, but it was a rough time, and obviously monetization wasn't something that they could do with monuments, and that's probably the main reason they didn't do them for S3. In S4 they figured out exactly how to monetize those, didn't they?
But let's still stay on S3 for a moment, because they did do melds, and a lot of people said, "Oh well, they've been doing all these gold melds."
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, well, our monument's going to come along later and require different color parallels. The things we were talking about after S4 ourselves, as we're going into S5, I actually found where Pavemental and midichlorians were kind of opining about that, about a multi-parallel requirement. And then I saw someone that said, if they skip names, and I'm not going if they skip names, I'm not going to be not doing it, and there's no possible way I'd be able to get 20 to 30 orange cards. Look at what we've been doing now, where we have hundreds of oranges.
At the time though, you could only get S3 oranges in money packs. Those
or melding.
Yeah, and by melding and stuff, they were really very fucking difficult. And look at the counts on those; they're pretty low again. So that's not surprising. So does that get us out of S3? Can we go into S4?
It does get us out of it.
Okay,
Greg.
cool.
Let's go to S4.
So we entered the halcyon days of S4 monuments, and happy days were here again. And what was my?
Oh fuck! No, they not. No, they were not.
They were. I had my on my Y-wing. I was so happy. I hoarded.
No,
some...
they were not. No, they were not, sir. We had non-units.
How they were not happy? Okay, tell me why Daddy was drunk the whole time.
Well, you sobered up real quick when that Y-wing came around, but in August 18th of 2017, they announced Rogue One monuments.
Okay, yeah. So back to
case.
yes, they figured out how to monetize a monument, and people lost their goddamn mind because this was before they had announced S4 monuments. They said, okay. Ooh, monuments! Wow, okay, neat. And here's how you're gonna do it.
You guys like those?
Yeah.
Here's some monuments.
Here's those monuments you've been asking for. Buy shitloads of fucking. And those were were we into diamonds, crystals by then, or did you have to buy those with money?
No, but there were bundles and there were coins. So looking back on the requirements, there were only Rogue One characters. Not even all of them were actual S4 base cards. They threw some weird Death Troopers and stuff out of midair on these that you never seen before, and they were only Rogue One, and I believe the blue cards were 5K each, and you only just got that one card in the pack. And then it took, I believe, 30 or 35 of those to meld into a red, and red was the number of cards that they counted towards the monument chase.
That's what we called them, monuments.
Yes, and there was no melds. They went back to the original 2015 S1.
Looking who had the most.
We're going to see who has the most at the end of this, and that's who's going to get the monument cards, and that's who's going to get their names on the back. It's just going to be the top 10 of each of these cards. And guess what? They fucked it up again because it took over 2 months to issue those cards to the people. There weren't many people chasing these.
Right. It was all ballers. I mean, it was like literally the biggest spenders. I know some of them don't care for the term whales, but that's where you are in the ecosystem. They are at the top of the ecosystem. These are the killer whales.
And there's some people that just went at it and weren't really expecting to get it, but they ended up getting it because no one was chasing these.
Right.
So our buddy Josh, Dunk TK421, he actually got a few of these, and one of the ones that he was telling me a while back, I think he had as little as 8 of, and he got a monument.
Wow. People were really pissed off at those. I mean, I'm not surprised a lot of people just, threw their shit down in disgust and walked away because people were really, really pissed off about that. And very soon thereafter, they went, ho, 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 whoa, wait a minute, guys. Don't be so mad. Chill out. We're going to have S4 monuments for all you guys that are hoarding those white cards. I 100% believe that the only reason they did the S4 monuments was because people were so fucking pissed off.
Yeah.
And then originally they were not going to put names on them. Is that correct? Or was it S5?
That is correct. That is correct. They said, yeah, we can't really do that. And we're like, but the people that paid got their
They're not monuments. They're not monuments without the name on it. That's the point.
They're not monuments without the names. And these people can drop a few bucks, get their names on these, but the people that, grind their way to 10,000 cards, which is 10,000 now for Series 4, we don't get that. And I believe the alternative, they said, well, we can't do that because of licensing, which was total bullshit.
Right.
They just put those on the other cards.
Right. They had a lot of really bad excuses.
They said, we're going to immortalize your names in a special transmission.
I remember that. And now if you look at the app now and see, go ahead and try to search for any transmission that's over a month or two old. It's not there. There was a time in the app where you could go and you could scroll backwards literally to day one in the app. And see every single transmission for every single card set that had come out from the very first goddamn day, even before the first set came out. So for them to say that is just like, wow. I mean, it's a great thing that they decided eventually to go, yeah, we're just going to put the names on those. And they did.
Well, they did but not for a really, really long time.
It took a long time.
We were well into Series 5.
Right. Well, after that, by that point, we'd all given up, and we were all just kind of schlumping around like, whipped slaves in a coal mine somewhere. And then they said we're going to do it, and everybody was really happy about it. So, I mean, in terms of, emotional manipulation, they did a great job.
Well, every once in a while, I know I would do it. I think you did it a few times. Our buddy Alan, Tatooine Dawn, did it. We'd tweet out and be like, hey, where's that special transmission? Did you forget about that transmission? They're like, no, we haven't forgot about it. No. And then once they announced Series 5, they said, Series 5 monuments are coming. We're putting names on they said we're putting names on Series 4 monuments, and there's going to be Series 5 monuments with names on them.
Yeah, and that was a great day. Because, that transmission... That transmission would have been the fan club credits at the end of Lord of the Rings. Where it goes by. There's 20,000 people that blur by in about 2 minutes, and you just look until you see your name, and then you stop looking. I mean, it would have been horrible. So it's a nice thing that they went and said, okay, not only are we putting names on the S4 monuments, but guess what? It's time for S5s. And finally. Now, we didn't talk about requirements, but S4, they had gone from 5,500 all the way up to 10,000, which a lot of people are like, ooh, wow, stingy, but possible. And a lot of people did those and were very happy and good with that. So we go into S5, and then S5 requirements, they actually started doing something that we'd actually been asking for quite a while, was to get some of these other tier. Do they call them tiers? And I just call them tiers. God damn it. Fuck, they've infected me. Son of a bitch. God damn it. These other colors into the meld for that. Because we've established this is going to be a meld. You're going to have to mulch your Hoard for this thing. And you're going to have all these different requirements. The 10,000 stays the same, but we're also adding a bunch of... so many blues. Blues was hard.
Yeah.
Blues was really hard, and it was hard this time as well. It seemed like that one was kind of out of order in terms of requirement. So it was 10,000 whites, and I want to say 1,250 blue. Am I right?
1,250 blue.
God damn, I know.
Red,
yes, you take the rest because I got something right. I'm going to stop.
200 green and 100 orange. And what was funny is we were saying this the whole time. As that was in the early days of our show. We're kind of like, hey, we're getting ready for monuments. Hopefully they'll put names on these, all this stuff. And we said, this doesn't make any sense. Why, people have been kind of prospecting these monuments forever. They're just hoarding to 10,000. They're not doing anything else. Yeah. And white base card became more valuable than the higher parallels. A white base was worth more than a blue and a red combined in a lot of cases to a lot of people. And it really restored some semblance of order within the hoarding realm where, yes, white is still king because it takes so many of them, but it gave those other base cards purpose other than being fill in a pack.
Well, plus, by that point, I think we had evolved to a point where we felt like there had to be some kind of commitment to a character and a card to make a monument mean anything. If you could just blast out, a whole, what we call prospecting, just do a whole bunch of them just because it's a low count variant and then immediately trade it off for a reflections or some shit like that, then it didn't mean anything. The idea of monument always was meant to mean something. From the earliest days of your name will be etched in bronze forever, all that fucking bullshit really spoke to us. Because this is such an intransigent, it goes so fast. All this stuff just goes by fast, and there's nothing that feels permanent. We're always on to the next chase. We're always on to the next set. But these are things where you're basically stamping your name in history of the app. Which sounds really crazy high blown, but in a big way, we really feel that way about that. So making those requirements harder.
That we started the show with.
Right, and making those requirements harder basically fucked those prospectors. And a lot of them scream blue bloody murder and, wah, too bad for you. That's not what it was ever supposed to be about.
Yeah. And I found actually a quote from myself on Twitter because I think S4 transitioning to S5, when we weren't really expecting that S4 monument, and then they dropped the monuments on us, I said that none of us ever started hoarding an S4 for monuments because we'd already been boned in S3.
Right.
We didn't get anything there. We were doing it because we liked hoarding. We liked the community aspect of it. We liked that way to pass time within the app. I said none of us started hoarding S4 for monuments, but if they made a hasty promise of monument cards, they should follow through with after they did the monuments and then kind of went, oh, we're going to do monuments now. But the essence of that is what you saw in S4 was really the ones that like did it for the love of hoarding. They
Right.
weren't doing it for a monument. They did it because this was something they really enjoyed doing as an activity within the app.
Right. And there's a purity to that
Yeah.
that Topps doesn't seem to be able to understand or accept. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It literally is a pure thing. I'm a surfer, and like for me, hoarding is the surfing of collecting, digital cards. You paddle out, you get your wave, you get high fives or hoots from the guys in the lineup, and it feels good, and there's nothing more to it. It's that time is what's important.
I mean, you can equate that to anything. I'm a drummer, and you playing a song, and it just goes that perfect way that one time, and you're like, man, that felt right.
Right.
And that's just kind of that's what it was to a lot of us in the app. And we were never looking for that monument reward of going to that. In honesty, a lot of us have always been torn about melding our monuments.
Right, yeah, it
Melding
feels
for
bad
monuments
to go
because
from those
we
big
built
numbers.
up these gigantic numbers, and to see you just kind of instantly click that button and 10,000 or 12,000 plus cards just vanish from your account.
Yeah.
You've got one badass card, but you're like, oh man, that's a lot of 9-for-9 or less trades.
Well, there's something to
every
that
time.
too, emotionally, in that sacrifice.
Yeah. Etched in bronze. Etched in bronze.
Yeah.
So, for Series 5, that of all the monuments, that probably went the most smoothly for Topps.
It really did. And it was funny too, because that was the time where I was just like, I'm just going to, I wasn't a prospector because I hadn't been hoarding these things, but it became a fun activity for me to go, how quickly can I do one of these things? And I didn't just do that one card. I also wanted to rainbow every single one of those cards from that set.
Yes, I know.
So I was, I would just very quietly pull down all the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the low counts of those,
Yeah.
and then I'd start hoarding for the monument and bust it out. I think it was it was crazy. I think I did 3 of them, and a couple of them I did in the matter of days.
And with S5, that was tougher because they didn't all drop at once. There wasn't this like flurry of activity where everyone's just totally consumed with this chase of these low counts. You had, this week we're dropping the 3s.
Mm-hmm.
Next week they're dropping the 2s. And get ready to get your butt reamed for the number 1 counts if you can get them.
And it was,
If you can
but
get
it was
them, if
still
you
a
can
good
find them.
and it was still a good time to trade in the app. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could still look around and see, okay, I see this one over here, and I see a couple over here, I see a bunch of them over here, and then, let me see what I can put together, and you could still communicate in the app, and there were big players that were active that still had things like this, and you could put together a rainbow in the span of a few days, and it was really fun, and it really felt like busting the tape on something to then go ahead and build that for that monument and knock that out too. It was really a lot of fun. Of all the times in the app, I didn't think that S5 would be such a heyday, such a golden time. But I'm looking back with great fondness at it now. I gotta tell you.
Yeah, I mean, even though the cards themselves the design felt with the Return of the Jedi style base cards felt a little uninspired at times. It was still a good time to be a hoarder.
Yeah, well, I mean, they weren't all dogs either. I mean, those fucking lightning 2 counts were amaze balls. Especially for your Hoard.
But then you look at the 3-count galaxy and you're like, this looks just like a black base. Oh, which looks just like the Heritage 77 count. Oh, which looks just like, and you insert whatever variant there. You know, there were some amazing ones. I love the lime green. I love the lightning. I even like the one Count Tops Classic. But then you're like, Endor green, lime green, electric blue, sky. You know, that we put together gifts of these variants in order, and then be like, how are people not getting scammed with all these?
Yeah, well, they probably were. In some
they probably
cases,
were.
Yeah.
When I put a trade out for one of those sky cards, the guy's like, if you wouldn't have offered me such a good trade for it, I probably would have accepted, just thinking it was a blue base. And I'm like,
I could still send you a few blue bays.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I got several
I
you
can
need.
revise this trade right now. No, but I wouldn't do that.
Well, they've done better. They did a fine job with the variants in S6.
Yeah.
And it does seem rather abrupt the way that those kind of came to an end. And you know, I mean, they made it through their 5, 4, 3, 2, 1s and their schedule of release and all that other bullshit. But we went into this new UI, and that was basically like, you know, oh, by the way, those are over too, and let's not speak of them again. And oh, by the way, gosh, I guess I just found out about monuments. I guess we need to do that. And it all feels very rushed and very abrupt, and I don't have a lot of confidence going into what I assume is going to be next month, to see how this is going to go and how this is going to work. And we've said on the show Saturday how we thought, you know, it'd be awesome for it to go, but in terms of how we think it's going to go, probably not that awesome.
The one thing I do have confidence in is Brendan Burrow, that he's going to create a monument worthy of the Series 6 design.
I hope so. You know, I wish they'd tease that. It's about time for them to show me what you got. You know, I want to see, you know, because it was very exciting when S5 came around and they showed that design. And it was very similar to S5, S4 design, but it fixed a lot of the problems I had with the S5 design in terms of the busyness of the border and so many things going on. To have that unified boom, that, you know, that kick-ass marble thing. And Brendan Bernard's done such a nice job in terms of his design sense of making it all look so new and interesting that I'm really stoked to see what the monuments are going to look like. And I hope he doesn't let us down. I hope it's going to be cool. I mean, it would be really nice, to see what that's going to be, and if it's going to be something, you know, amazing, it would be really cool. I think that would heal a lot of hurt right now to have an amazing mind. No pressure, Brandon.
No, none at all.
No pressure. But you know, just an incredible, amazing, mind-blowing, the best monument, like that people would go, S6 monuments are the best looking monuments they've ever done. No pressure.
I mean, I don't want to be, you know, amazed by it, but I do want to be wowed.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, I've seen things in the app since they changed over. Wow me. No, I mean, they've done some things that makes me think it's possible that we could be getting something really kick-ass. You know, and I keep going back to this. I sound like an old fucking saw, broken record. I Will Show You the Dark Side set, in terms of what they did with motion in some of those cards. If they can incorporate some element of that into a border and make that something like that, I think people would be like, oh, wow, holy shit. I only want monuments to look this good.
Yeah. I mean, I can't disagree with any of that. And I know that you guys talked about, you know, the S6 requirements the last show, and kind of where those are kind of mirroring the S5, and what a kind of shit show the Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, yeah, we talked about what a mess that, we've talked about it on Saturday at length, what a mess that is. You know, there's going to have to be something wrapped around those that's pretty great. They have not gone back on those requirements as of yet. They said they're going to
look. They're trying to figure it out.
They have some time. But you know, every day that goes by is a day that we could potentially be picking an ROS character and going for it. Because, you know, hopefully they don't overcompensate and go too low. But they're way too high, orders of magnitude too high right now.
Yeah, I think I figured out that roughly 3 to 5% would put you right around that that 350 to 500 count for white. And when they're still not coming out of packs with regularity, when they're still getting packed like an insert and not a base card, no one's going to be able to do that. Some of the most kick-ass collectors, like Selden Pat and Lemmy Mercer, they've been at these for months now since they dropped, or a month or two now since they dropped, and they still only have, in the range of 100 or 200 or something like that. And they've been working their asses off. You see them posting the feed for it every day.
It should be an accomplishment, but it shouldn't be insurmountable.
Yeah, and when you got two of the most kick-ass collectors in the app struggling to even get a couple percent of that 5,000 requirement, they're all going to be no counts.
Well, it feels like a lot of people are holding on harder. I know I am, and I'll be honest. I'm holding on to those in the hopes that they will go to some rational level, that I could possibly take what I have and maybe, throw a little at PAX to possibly put something together and do one of those ROSs. I would like to be able to have that opportunity to do that. I consider myself a pretty good hoarder.
I think you are too.
I would like to have an opportunity. Right now it feels insurmountable. So there's no effort for me going into it other than holding on to what I have.
Right now, if I were to say, do I do a Rise of Skywalker card, or do I just pick another random-ass base out of the air, I'd have more luck with a random-ass base that I'm starting with none of.
Right. Well, I would like to pick one of the Knights of Ren who I'm sure is going to die like a gimp. Hopefully, I would just pick some rando from ROS and hope he dies like a gimp in the movie, and then I can laugh about having a monument of that guy.
Well, let's talk about the two, because what you're running into with cards like Knights of Ren, where there's multiples of the same, is like you did with Last Jedi, where there were 6 Praetorian Guards or 7 Praetorian Guards.
But they were all different. Those were all different. They had different weapons.
I know.
And the Knights of Ren are all different, too. They're all individuals, Adam. They're not clones. They're individuals.
Like, I'm hoarding the Knights of Ren, the guy that looks like he has kind of a Star Wars cleaver. I don't know. How do you... Is that a battle axe? I don't know what the hell that is. But,
We'll find out on December 20th in theaters near you.
Yeah, and, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the things they've left out over the years. And I know that this is ripping off a Band-Aid for you, too, but they've totally neglected series of cards while honoring others. Through Series 5, we had monuments, but if you were collecting any Series 4 Rebels, if you're collecting any Solo, and most importantly, The Last Jedi, where there's base cards, white base cards, totaling about 1 million each, they did not do a monument of those.
And that's what's so frustrating. There's ones where you can kind of understand, like, there's some that would be insurmountable in any sensible requirement. Solos are still some of the rarest base in the app.
And orange and green, yeah.
And those S4 Rebels as well. Some of those are some of the rarest cards in certain variants in the app. But the real, honestly, you just fucking ripped a big Band-Aid, and I'm bleeding again about this TLJ because such availability and so many people that hoarded those. It's just sickening that those were just left by the wayside. And it's 100% a dick move on the previous team to just go, don't say anything, let it go. Don't say anything. Just wear them down over the course of a year, and then we can fucking walk away, and it'll be somebody else's problem. I'm sure all those people are like, we're all going to retire, gold watches at Topps here. No way we're going to get sent to the kick team or the UFC team. But that's what happened. So yeah, it is a sick burn, and it does still chap my ass. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
Hey, I have to harken back. I cannot change any other person in this world but myself. And so I have to look back at the times where we were hoarding an S4, where we had no promise, no hope of any kind of monuments at that time. And I have to look back at that younger, bright-eyed, more innocent Gregg and go, okay, just be like that about your Kennedy Hoard, and it's rainbow complete if nothing else. My Hoard is complete, my rainbow is complete on Kennedy, and I can move on from that, and I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking pissed.
I know. And I every time, like, you guys bring it up on the podcast, I'm just like, dude, they're not going to do it.
No.
I'm saying to myself, I'm like, they're not going to do it.
No.
It's just, they're not going to do it.
No.
I'm sorry, Greg and Chris, they're not going to do it. I'm just thinking to myself every time, I'm like, oh, you're doing
well,
this
and
again.
we fought the
They're not
good
gonna
fight.
do it.
We fought the good fight. We
Yeah.
we did what we could. We don't get to walk into headquarters and start punching buttons and make shit happen. So
That kind of feels like what they're doing at times now, though.
yeah.
Someone just walked in and
Except
started
it's
punching buttons.
drunk bonobos.
Yeah. So, as we look towards Series 7, I'll be damned if I call it 2020, Tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. As we look towards 2020, Series 7, and the next year of the build, hoarding is still going to be hoarding. It's not going to be the same.
It's so hard. Right now. And, I feel 100% like they stuck that Kennedy in there to go, hey, kick that football, Charlie Brown. I'm not going to fucking do it. I'm holding back. I'm looking around. I've gotten very old bull about this and walking down to fuck them all about hordes now. Do you know this joke?
No.
Let me tell you. There's an old bull and a young bull, and they're standing on the top of a hillside, and the young bull says to the old bull, hey, let's run down and fuck one of those cows. And the old bull looks really slowly over at the young bull. He says, let's walk down and fuck them all. So that's me. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to see. I'm going to accumulate. I'm not doing... I'm using S7 right now for goals that I'm trying to reach in S6 for hordes on that. And then we'll see in a few months if I decide on a horde and I decide to go after something. A lot of stuff's going to have to change in terms of the interface. Trade Again was helpful, but it's still pretty rough.
Yeah, and right now I have been trying to kind of make the most of this and see how good or bad it was, and it's pretty bad. And I've been at this now since they made the changeover, and I said right away, Dooku, okay. Hoard and Dooku, and I'm still not even to 500. I'm in the app every day. I'm there doing stuff, and I got to 50 of those Crimson Dooku inserts before I got to 125 white base.
That's rough, man. It's really hard, and I mean, it feels like we're waiting on Tops now to not fuck up, to rebuild a user base. Apparently they're going to start promoting again. I've seen they're running commercials on Coffee with Kenobi and some of the other podcasts that don't have anything to do with digital cards, so good move there. But they're trying to build a user base there. We see new users coming in. It'll take them a while to figure out hoarding's a thing, and hopefully, it'll grow again. They've counted on churn for so many years. Hopefully this will work again, and they can rebuild a base that we can actually trade with. Because right now we don't have it, and that's the biggest part. As bad as the UI is, we could probably make it through if there were more people hoarding.
Mm-hmm. But as we see every day, another veteran leaves the app,
yep,
and kind of just says, give it up the ghost, and just walking away and just making their app go shaky and hitting the delete button, and they move on.
Yep.
And that happens in digital gaming every single day. There's people that download an app and then delete it, and no one thinks twice. But the personal connection that happens within this app is unlike any other kind of digital mobile gaming platform that I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because these have become your friends. These aren't just like a screen name anymore. They're friends that you've interacted with. You know about their family. You know about their jobs. You know about their struggles and things that have happened. You know, folks have passed away. Folks have, you know, gotten new jobs. Folks have, you know, had these big, huge life events that they share with us and we share with them. And for Tops to not see that aspect of it and go, you know, hey, 5,000 Rise of Skywalker because I pulled that number out of my ass. It hurts.
Yeah, it's rough. They need to be better. You know, we're doing good stuff. We feel like we're doing good stuff, and when we feel like we're just wasting our time, then it's very easy to just walk away. We won't walk away from the people. I think the people that we're friends with will remain our friends. I have friends going back to Star Wars card, the collectible card game back in the late 90s and early 2000s that are still my friends. And I still love seeing their families and their babies being born and things like that. That's forever. I don't think they understand how disposable they really are. And we'll take our community and walk away and, you know, enjoy, you know, whatever these new guys you get that you can milk. You could have milked us for years. You could have walked down and fucked us all.
Yep.
That's a great place to stop, right fucking there.
It absolutely is. So, as we wrap up today's episode of the Holocron, I'm AC the Destroyer. That's Ted Salas. Thanks for joining us down this journey about monuments and
so much more. And so much more.
And so much more today. And be sure to follow us at Hoardcast on Twitter. Be sure to subscribe on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, a bunch of other podcast aggregators. If you ever have any questions, email us, hoardcast@gmail.com. Tag us on Twitter. Tag us on Reddit, you know, Ted Salas and AC the Destroyer on Reddit. We're always on there, too. And with that, I guess we're going to go walk down...
and fuck them all. Yeah, let's go fuck some cows.
We are Legion.
We are all.
We are one.
We are
Watching.
Every item does not appear in our records. It does not exist.
Illuminati.